r/Nosleep. Posted by u/cuoiche. My parents leave the back door open at night. Part 2. It's me again. I didn't expect so many people to believe me, or for anyone to even be interested in what I had to say. For those not caught up yet, sometime within the past year my parents started leaving the back door open. All hours, day or night, rain or shine. Then the dog came. I only call it a dog because I frankly don't know what the hell it actually is. Just that it looks, approximately, like what a dog should. Before I tell everyone about what has happened between my last post and now, I wanted to clear the air. No, my cat isn't a demon. No, I don't have a history of mental illness. No, I don't have the money necessary to go out and buy enough supplies to turn my bedroom into an apocalypse bunker. I'm unemployed, remember? That's the reason I'm living with my parents to begin with. Also, seriously, my cat isn't a demon. She's the only thing keeping me sane through all of this. You guys should apologize to Buffy. Alright. Okay. So, what happened? I managed to hole away in my room successfully for a whole day before the withdrawals hit. Yeah, withdrawals. Remember when I said I drink obscene amounts of coffee? Well, it came back to bite me in the ass. And for anybody who's ever had a withdrawal headache, you know that painkillers don't do shit for that. So even though I had them in my room with me, I was forced to go get coffee to feed the caffeine addiction. Go figure, the back door was open. It didn't seem like anyone was home at the moment except me, which was usually a solace. It felt like a death sentence. Unsurprisingly, the dogs greeted me with their usual level of enthusiasm before settling down as I went about my half-blind business of caffeine acquisition. Coffee was the only thing on my mind aside from the throbbing in my eyes I was currently experiencing. I didn't even register when the dogs stopped pacing around my feet. When they just up and left. By the time I had managed to get a couple gulps of my drink down and the caffeine started to work its magic, I had realized that I was suddenly much more alone than I should have been. I think this was perhaps the first time I actively wished that those damn dogs were bugging me. I called for my favorite of the bunch, a Doberman named Charlie. Char, when I talked to him. Usually he'd come trotting to me immediately. Nothing. Keep in mind, it was broad fucking daylight out. I figured that I would be at least somewhat safe. I guess I was wrong. When I moved around the kitchen island, all the dogs were seated at the back door. Not outside, just near it. In front of it. I remember trying very hard not to whimper, but I probably did anyways. Because it was that fucking thing again. It looked even worse, in full light. Its fur was bleach white, making the pink of its nose and the black of its eyes contrast starkly. This time I found that my paralysis was only temporary. It wasn't looking at me, I realized only later, but at my dogs. Maybe that was why I could move. It wasn't IT that was paralyzing me in that moment but my own fear. I wish I could say I did something cool, or smart. But I didn't. I whimpered, set my mug on the counter, turned around, and jogged away. Behind me I heard the sound of claws on tile. My house isn't particularly big considering I live in the suburbs, but when I broke into a dead sprint it felt like I suddenly lived in a goddamn mansion. Had it ever taken me this long to get to my room before? No way. I'll tell you now that what happened next has made me reconsider the moniker of man's best friend. The fucking dogs. They cut me off. There's a choke point between my bedroom, the guest bedroom, and the first bathroom. It's a little hallway where the door to the linens closet and the garage are also situated. Izzy and Charlie had positioned themselves parallel of each other directly in front of me, having come up on either side of me to intercept my path. I don't think I'd ever seen those two numbskulls move in an organized manner in their lives. They usually are too busy tripping over their own feet and rolling around. Understandably, seeing as they're both fucking Doberman, I skidded to a halt. The little ones were to my rear and flank, effectively boxing me in. I wasn't exactly super worried about them. I hate to say it, but they're perfect punting size and on the older side. If need be, I could get away from them, but not Izzy and Char. Both of whom were watching me with their ears pulled back against their skulls tightly, heads lowered. I couldn't believe what was happening. These fucking dogs. They'd turned on me, damn it. I think it was around then that I closed my eyes. I stood there, perfectly still, and tried to think of my options. Die to my own dogs on the off chance they decided to maul me if I pushed past them? Wait for that thing to come attack me instead? Or I could make a break for the front door. I don't know why I didn't consider it sooner. That dog only ever came through the back door, it seemed. By virtue of it being equal but opposite, the front door absolutely meant safety then. Right? That's logical. It is, right? I had turned, eyes still closed, to try the direction I knew the front door was. I'd lived here my whole life after all. I knew my way around. Discounting one thing. That I'd trip on one of the smaller dogs. She didn't appreciate it any more than I did, practically screaming at me as my foot caught on her body and I went toppling face first into the carpet. I could have sworn it sounded like the others laughed. As crazy as the situation was, and is, I think maybe that was just a part of my imagination. What wasn't was when that dog, that thing, walked calmly up to me and stared at me. I can tell you now. What's wrong with its face? Why it looks so wrong? It's because, it's not the face of a dog. It's the face of a person. Stretched out, and purposefully contorted over the frame of a dog's skull. Looking at it up close and personal made me retch into my mouth slightly, reacquainting my coffee to my taste buds in a less than pleasant fashion. I moaned pitifully after swallowing it back down and then the thing smiled at me. My naturally contrarian personality made me want to fling out a "What are you smiling at, jackass?" But instead what came out was a shrill, helpless whine. Its teeth were more like chitinous plates. Solid with no distinct or individual teeth. I think if I had had any more coffee to drink, given it any more time to settle in my system, I would have pissed myself then and there. I think it knew that too, and knew what I was thinking, because its smile got wider. Its gums flashed at me as it did so. They were deep red, like the thing had gingivitis. I think I must have fainted at that point. When I came to it was because Izzy was shoving her nose against my face and licking me. I distinctly remember wanting to punch her in the head for acting so buddy-buddy after she betrayed me so readily, but I refrained. I instead went right to checking for any bite marks or scratches on my body. I came back with nothing. Just a continuous pounding in my head that felt like it had absolutely nothing to do with my earlier caffeine-related affliction. That thing. It's getting bold. It just came into my house like it fucking belonged there, like it lived there. And the dogs. I know I talk harsh about them but that hurt. I don't hate them. They're just some mutts and they don't know better than to just be dogs. I managed to convince the neighbor across the road to let me stay the night. She's like a second grandma to me, and I used to spend more time in her house as a kid than I did my own. I have to leave Buffy behind though. I wish I could take her with me but M''s. Tell her is allergic. I hope she'll be okay. I hope I'll be okay.